What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today, you guys, with a brand new review for Tyler Perry's Sistas on BET, Season 7, Episode 2, you guys. And this episode is titled, I believe, Drunken Love. I have to double check that one. But before we go ahead and get into this video, you guys, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, my bad. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss Sistas, shall we? All right, you guys. So this episode, it was an okay episode. I do feel like the writing, it's still a little choppy, but what I will say very, very positive about the writing, we are not staying on the same day for a whole entire season or even a whole entire or the course of a few episodes. It's really moving pretty fast. This episode, now I forgot the last week was the season premiere, but so this week's episode, we opened up, you guys remember last week's episode, we ended it with Penelope going to the bathroom and finding Gary in the bathroom. And you guys know Gary was going to town on his Johnson, right? And she was like, Gary, what are you doing? So Gary is basically playing it off like, oh, it's nothing. It's like you're sniffing your ex's dirty underwear. He said they're clean. And he said to her that he got horny looking at her at the table. I was like, Gary, a lie, do not care who tell it. But if that's what you want to tell yourself, Gary, then go ahead and, knock yourself out, slap yourself silly, do whatever you want to do, right? Just please get off of my screen. Now, Gary and Penelope, they left the restroom because she was pissed. And Andy, asking if they're okay in there. And so they ended up leaving. And before they left, Gary put his hands on Jordan, and I was like, oh, that is so nasty. I was like, I hope you washed your hands. But knowing Gary's trifling ass, he probably did not wash his hands. And I was just like, oh, yeah, no, sir. Let's not do that. Now, Gary and Penelope, they're on the elevator with each other, right? They're going down. Penelope is still upset with Gary, going off on Gary. And he's telling her to be quiet and shut up and all this kind of stuff. And then had the unmitigated gall and audacity to sit there and try to blame this whole entire thing on her because I guess, he tried to have sex with her previously. And, she said no to him. And I was like, okay, so she said no to you. Gary, like, you don't know how to, the same way you was in the bathroom going to town on your Johnson, you can't do that. So yeah, he's blaming Penelope for this, and I was like, oh, typical Gary, blaming other people and not yourself. But that's neither here nor there. Now, we'll pause here and we will move forward, you guys. Next up, you guys, we have Sabrina. So Sabrina is over to Danny's, and I forgot to mention last week that Tony went to the bathroom, made a phone call, but the phone call was to Sabrina. So Sabrina is talking to Danny and trying to talk to Danny about going to therapy. And Danny is telling Sabrina she don't need therapy. Now, here's the thing. I want to poke a quick hole in this storyline right here because I forgot about it until, again, I don't know how I forgot about this shit, but I forgot about it last week until I watched Misha's review. And she was talking about the fact that in the season finale, we ended. It was either Misha or somebody. It was somebody I watched. I'm pretty positive it was Misha. But she mentioned that in the finale, Danny was leaving the airport to go on that date with Tony, and now it's a dream. And I was like, okay, stranger things happen, right? It's a television show. We live in this is a fantasy world, so anything can happen. Now, Sabrina asked Danny, do you think that this could be about Preston? And I was like, how could this be about Preston? The man that we saw was black and all black. So I don't know how this is about Preston, but okay, Sabrina, cool. So then Danny wants to talk about how wishy-washy Preston was with her. I was like, now Danny, Danny. He wasn't like wishy-washy with you as much as you were wishy-washy with him. Like you never see, like you can never tell that man what you wanted. And then when you did tell him what you wanted and y'all got into a relationship with each other, you went and messed with creepy Tony. So let's not sit here and place all the blame on Preston. Was Preston inconsistent? Yeah. Especially with him going back and forth between you and Mindy. And the fact that he went and married Mindy. Ma'am, do you not have any dignity for yourself? But hey, that's if Mindy like it, we love it, right? Not really. Now, Gary, he ended up not going home with Penelope, right? So he ended up going over to Hayden's crib. And Hayden is like, what are you doing here? And Gary told him, this is a favor that you owe me. I was like, excuse you, Gary? Gary was like, yeah, you owe me a favor because of hiring that PI. It wasn't cheap. So this is your repayment. I was like, what kind of friend is this? Gary and Hayden are not friends with each other. They just conspire with each other because they're both miserable ass people, right? Then Gary started talking shit about his bar. I was like, but you in his home. You're in his home. Go get a hotel. Go do something. Like, the hell? Then he wanted to talk shit about his women issues. Gary, you put yourself in this position. Nobody else. Only you. And then he says he wants to he says he wants to go after Jordan. I was like, you want to go after Jordan because you can't have Andy? You are fixated on Andy, but let you tell it 3 months ago, Andy didn't mean shit to you. So which one is it, Gary? Because the math just ain't mathing. Then we move over, you guys, to Zach and Fatima. So they're having breakfast. And Zach is telling Fatima that he wants to open up a trust for Michael and for Zach Jr. I was like, wow, we done got to that point where we're naming this baby. Okay. And Fatima's thing is she feels like it's too soon for him to open up a trust for a baby that's not here. I was like, Fatima, I also think it's too soon for him to open up a trust for a baby that we don't necessarily know is his. You guys have to remember when Fatima them did that DNA test on Michael, Hayden was still looming around in the picture. So and he was, what's her name? Heather's attorney. So I don't trust it that this is his baby. I just don't believe it. But hey, Fatima also feels like Zach should get a DNA test on, Karen's baby. And that'll come up later in the episode, but we'll talk about it as we get to it. But let's pause here and move forward. Now we move over to the law office, right? So Hayden and Andy, they're both in the, in the break room, and Hayden wants to have a conversation with Andy, and Andy's like, I only say hello and good morning to people that I like. So he asked her, what's up with Gary? It like him and his girl beefing, and she was like, no, because they were just at my place and everything was good. Well, he was like, they fooled the shit out of you because the way that they acted, it could have been a Grammy. I was like, a Grammy is for, Andy even called it, she said a Grammy is for, you mean an Emmy, a Golden Globe, an Oscar, a Tony, those kind of awards. But he told her that, Gary was over his place all night. He called Penelope a fat, insecure bitch. I was like, a fat, insecure bitch. The bitch that's pregnant with your child. Gary, I hope you get the worst of whatever's to come. And, he was like, he talked to me like I'm some BFF. And Andy was like, but I thought y'all were friends. He's like, no. He's like, I don't even know what that man do for a living. She's like, he does hedge funds. And Hayden was like, yeah, he does that. But, I mean, he always spending money on this. He always doing that. So he questions it. I was like, well, at least we're not the only ones that's questioning a lot about Gary's life. Like, I know people say that Gary I don't remember now. I don't really remember everything from season 1. I don't. So sorry to tell you guys that I don't remember everything from season 1. I don't remember everything from last season, to be quite honest with you. But I think I vaguely remember him and Jasmine supposedly having kids. Because I thought at oh, yes. I think I remember when Jasmine went to jail. One his son supposed to be staying with Jasmine's mother. I don't remember. You guys will let me know in the comment section everything it is about Gary's children because y'all have put it. Y'all have debated that. Well, not debated it, but y'all have put that in the comments since I've been reviewing Sistas that we don't know. Like I don't remember how many. I don't remember if Gary has a son. I don't. I remember. Vaguely remember things, but I love that you guys clear it up for me. So yeah, clear it up for me, you guys, about Gary's. I mean the inconsistencies with Gary's family. Where we at? So Fatima came in there. She's like, "Is he bothering you?" And Andy was like, "No, we're just talking." And so Fatima, her and Hayden, they had to have a little back and forth with each other, and it is what it is. They don't care for each other, and I don't care for Hayden. Next up, we move over to Karen Salam, and Pam. Pam is being typical Pam. I was really hoping that with them bringing in the writers, that maybe Pam could act a little bit better. I mean, I always thought that Pam's bad acting came from the script that Tyler wrote, but no, her acting is just horrible. She's funny, but her acting is atrocious. So Pam is ordering things at Karen's salon, and a man came in to drop him off. And Karen's like, "Wait a minute, who's paying for this?" And mind you, Pam was flirting with the man, but Karen was like, "Who's paying for this stuff?" And Pam says it's a write-off. I was thinking the same thing before Karen even said it. She was like, "Do you know what a write-off is?" She was like, "Yeah, you send it to the write-off people, and they put it on and they write it off on your taxes." I was like, "Pam, that is not what a write-off means. Like a write-off is a tax break. Like you pay for the shit, but when you pay your taxes, you write it off as an expense. You write it off as an expense on your taxes. You don't actually pay for it and then send it to somebody for them to reimburse you. You write it off on your taxes when you file your taxes at the end of the year." Like I was like, "Oh my God, Karen, girl, fire her because she finna have you in a poorhouse." Speaking of poorhouse, we see Sabrina. Sabrina's down at the bank, and there's she's on the phone with a couple that she just got a personal loan, and then Karen called her about getting a personal loan, and she was like, "But I thought you just got a business loan." And Karen was like, "Yes, I did get a business loan, but that was for the salon, and there are still things that I need for the salon because that money went only so far. Then I have my own regular expenses on top of this baby. So do you think you can help me, Brina?" I hate when they call her Brina. Brina. I have never heard anybody shorten the name Sabrina. Maybe Bree? Why don't y'all just call her Bree? But Brina? Oh, I hate that. I'm sorry, you guys. I hate when they say Brina because I've never heard anybody's name Sabrina shortened to Brina. Brina, ugh. Never mind. We gonna stop talking about it. But there was some white lady that came into Sabrina's office talking about no personal phone calls, and I was like, "Harper, who this white lady?" All right, you guys. Pausing here. Moving forward. All right. Next up, Andy and Fatima. They're in her office. They're talking about Gary, and Fatima told Andy, like, "Girl, focus on your man and leave Gary's lying ass in the past." And it was like, "Yeah, you're right." And I forgot to mention to you guys that Fatima and Zach, they're having a meeting with Andy, right? Because they're getting ready to go into arbitration. And I know a little bit about arbitration because we deal with arbitration at my job. Arbitration is legally binding. So you go to an arbitrator who is someone who is typically impartial. So they don't know you. They won't know Zach. They won't know, what is her name again? Heather. This person doesn't know either one of them, so they don't have a vested stake in this, right? What they'll do in front of the arbitrator is Zach will present his case to the arbitrator, and Heather will present her case to the arbitrator. And so the arbitrator will take all the facts they present to them and make a decision, right? And whatever the arbitrator says, that's it. It's legally binding, and they have to follow that. They have to follow it. So if the arbitrator says that we want the child to be with his father, he'll be with his father, and there's really nothing that, she can do because, again, arbitration is legally binding. And Andy kind of explained that to him. Um, so Andy also asked them, when is the wedding date, right? And it was crickets in the air, and Andy told them, like, the optics matter, and the court would like to see that he is going to be in a two-parent household. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Then we move over to the airport. This scene at the airport, you guys, I could have done without it. The more that I see Tony, the more Tony creeps me out. So he went up to Danny, who was with the customer, right, and asked Danny for some printer paper. So Danny told him, yeah, he can get the printer paper. So he went behind. Oh my God, that man looks horrible. So he went behind the counter, and then he proceeded to munch on her carpet. And I was like, this is very, very weird. So he asked her what happened last night with Sabrina. She's still mad at him about it. And then he left telling her to come to his office and basically to have sex with him in his office. So then she called Karen and asked Karen to come to brunch with the girls, and Karen said, no, thank you. I was like, oh, what a bitch. Then we move over to Maurice, you guys. Maurice is a hoot. Maurice was sitting there with his titties out, and I was hollering at that shit when I saw Maurice. So I feel like Maurice is doing something like, OnlyFans or something like that, where he has an audience that he's catering to, doing fetishes and things of that nature. And so Sabrina just came. She said, well, the door was open. Bitch, if you don't knock on if my door is open, don't just walk in. Please don't. But my door would never be just open, but don't just walk in. Ugh, my guy girlfriend. No, no, no. So she came over to get a dress, and he was like, girl, that dress is gone. And she was looking at all the stuff. She's like, can I have those handcuffs? I think Rich would like this. So he said, yeah. And then she left, and he said, bitch, that skirt surely is wrinkled. I was like, that skirt and outfit sure is ugly. Oh, God. He did manage to tell Sabrina that he makes more money than she does. Let's pause here and go ahead and wrap up the episode, you guys. Now, we see the girls, they're at brunch, right? And remember, they invited Karen, but Karen didn't show up, so they have Fatima there. I was like, this is interesting that they have Fatima here. I also thought it was fucked up about them laughing and sniggling and giggling about Karen. Danny questioning the paternity of her baby. I just didn't like all that stuff about. Now, granted, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Karen. I don't like Karen, but I did not like that scene. I thought it was like, y'all are supposed to be her best friends, but here y'all are laughing with Fatima about this stuff, about Zach Jr., about the paternity of her baby and all this stuff. I just didn't think that was cool. Sabrina's over here asking Andy and them, had they thought about marriage and having kids. Fatima says she wanted 2 kids, and that's how we got into the conversation about Karen, because Zach is talking about naming the baby Zach Jr. Again, like I said, I just didn't like that whole scene. Then Danny talked about the conversation with Tony about going to therapy. Fatima says she's in therapy and that she could give Danny her therapist information. Danny agreed. Danny then went home with Tony and told him about the conversation with the girls and that, she'll be going to therapy because Fatima gave her a therapist. Sabrina took her drunk ass home and she was ready to have sex with Rich and, start making a baby, only to find out Rich don't want to get married again and Rich don't want kids. I was like, ew, what a predicament we are in. Then moving over to Andy. Andy went home to her man, Jordan, and she was talking to Jordan about, Jordan was talking to her, telling her he got endorsed by the mayor and that he is now being backed by this big PR firm down there. And his only thing is she wants some peanuts just like Sabrina wanted some. So he told her he'll clean up the dishes and for her to go get out that dress, right? And that's that. Then Zach and Fatima got into it because once again, Fatima thinks Zach is being stupid by not getting a DNA test on Karen's child to confirm that is his child before he does anything for that child. And I was like, okay. I mean, I get where Fatima's coming from. I do. But if Zach believes that this is his child, then who are we to say boo, cat, dog, or anything of the sorts, right? And then lastly, Gary. Gary is running game on another woman. He gonna be flying her in, telling her, "Ooh, I'm getting hard." I was like, "Ooh, that's nasty, Gary. We don't want to know that." So then one of Gary's partners comes in and tells him that the investors are pulling out. I was like, "You don't say so." And they're throwing around words like conspiracy, Ponzi scheme. And I was like, "Ooh, Gary." So the guy was like, "I've cleaned my computer. I suggest you do the same thing." So Gary went to the books and ain't no money. And so he told the guy, "Go shred this." And then Gary got a phone call from Hayden. And Hayden is like, "Yo, Gary, why are the feds at my house looking for you?" I was like, "Ooh, Gary, bye. Wouldn't want to be you." Knew something was off with that no good ass nigga. But yeah, you guys, that is Sistas. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Wash your hands, be blessed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.